My earlier video got interrupted because of the call I got in between. Therefore, I am continuing from where I stopped. I hope it won't be a problem for you to follow the lecture. Now, actually, I was discussing about the meaning of the irredeemable debt or perpetual debt which does not have the fixed maturity period. Then, what is redeemable debt? Redeemable debt will have fixed tenure, maybe 5 years, 7 years. Today, if they are issuing, today is always zero. If 5 years, this timeline will be there, fixed maturity period will be there, so that is your redeemable debt. So at the end of 5th year, your principal value will be returned to you, and in between this timeline you will receive interest from the company. This is how redeemable debt works. Again, here we have two types of calculations: before tax and after tax. That is, if we are considering the tax calculation purpose, then it will be after tax interest into 1 minus t divided plus 1 by n into rv minus np. What is this whole chunk all about? First, I'll tell you what each alphabet says here. Then I will tell you how this formula is used. I refers to interest, N is number of years to maturity, RV is nothing but redemption value. Today you invested for 50. If the company has promised that at the time of redemption it will be redeeming at 60 rupees, then redemption value is 60. It can be 40, it can be 50. The company decides the redemption value. The value at which the debenture is redeemed, that is the redemption value, minus net proceeds divided by half of your redemption value plus net proceeds. Here we are taking the income what we get. Here we are taking the differences between the capital values. That is, this is our investment. This is what company is giving. In between, if we are getting benefit for which we have waited for this period, divided by the average of opening plus closing. This is how cost of redeemable debt is calculated. So if we have to consider the tax amount, then it will be I into 1 minus t. So our interest value is actually reducing here. The total amount, the cost, in not the interest value, it is the total cost is reducing here because it is tax deductible item. Then whenever it is related to your net proceeds, something which you need to keep in mind is the cost of flotation. What is cost of flotation? Whenever you are issuing any securities in the primary or in the follow-up market, that is for the second time or the third time you are floating your securities for additional funds, then that time you need to market that your securities are being issued. You need to pay brokerage charges, you need to appoint merchant bankers, you may need your investment bankers also for the help. For all these to issue your certificates, you are incurring some additional cost, and such cost is called as cost of flotation. Cost of flotation is nothing but cost of issuing securities. This includes your brokerage charges, your marketing charges, then your in a merchant banker's commission. All these gets included in case of cost of flotation. So you may ask me, ma'am, how to calculate this cost of flotation? In problems you have seen, if you go through those problems you'll understand, but just for the illustration I am showing you one example. Let's assume the face value of a debenture is 100. It is issued at 5% premium. 5% premium means it will be plus 5. So together it is 105. And if the problem specifies that cost of issuing securities is 5%, please remember you should not take your cost of issuing securities on the issue price. Instead, it is to be taken on the face value. So it will be minus 5 because this is cost for you. The cash is going out. Therefore, the issue price will be 100 rupees. This is how we calculate the net proceeds. So totally Net proceeds what you have received is 100. 5% premium, 5% flotation cost, both are adjusted here. Then the next category of problems which you might have done in the class is floating or variable cost of debt. Always we say that inherited characteristic of the debt is that it has fixed interest, but sometimes the rate of interest is adjusted to the market or the bank rate. So in such a case, the interest of debt also will keep on varying, which is your floating or variable cost of debt. How is this calculated? Prime lending rate plus 3% or 4%, whatever is the rate that will be taken. This component is fixed by the company and this is the market rate which keeps changing. So depending upon the market rate whatever it is, we take that. So prime lending rate, this PLR is prime lending rate of banks plus your fixed cost, together it is your total cost of the debt, and this is your floating component, this is your fixed component. Again here taxation benefit is not considered. So this is your before tax cost of your floating debt. To consider that cost of debt after tax, what we do is before tax cost of debt, this what you have calculated into 1 minus t. Let's take an example. 5% antidre, so 5 plus 3, it will be 8 into 1 minus tax rate whatever is given. If you calculate like this, you will get your after tax cost of debt. Then you have real or inflation adjusted cost of debt. What is this real or nominal what we have, girls? There are two terms which you need to keep in mind. One is the real, another one is the nominal. What is nominal? Let's assume a company has issued debt carrying interest rate 7%. This is the nominal. Whatever they have declared, that is the nominal. But whenever in the economy you have inflation, what is inflation? Prices are increasing, value of the money is decreasing. ನೀವು ಮುಂಚೆ 10 rupees ಕೊಟ್ಟು ತೊಗೊಳೋದನ್ನ ಈಗ 15 rupees ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಪರ್ಚೇಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರೆ prices have increased but worth of money has come down. That is the concept of inflation. So in case of your inflation, you may be paying 7%, but actual worth will be maybe around 5% or 4%. So to calculate your real cost of debt, we use this formula. Real cost is nothing but after adjusting your inflation. So after adjusting your inflation, whatever cost you get, that is your real cost of debt, which is 1 plus nominal cost of debt, whatever is declared here, divided by 1 plus inflation rate. So your nominal rate is adjusted to the inflation, where you will get real cost of debt. Then the next concept which you have learnt is your zero coupon bonds. What are zero coupon or deep discount bonds? These were introduced by Unit Trust of India before. And how this concept works is basically, girls, let's assume that now the company is issuing a bond where the maturity value of the bond after 20 years is 1000 rupees. I am not talking about the face value of the bond. I am talking about the maturity value or the redemption value. Maturity or redemption value is how much? 1000. Now what the company does is the issue price will be 100 or 50 rupees, and today you are investing 0. 20th year you are receiving 1000. Today you are investing 50 rupees, assumption. Redemption value is 100,000 rupees. In between these 20 years, you will not receive any interest at all. You will not get any interest. What is the benefit you are getting? 1000 minus 50, 950 rupees difference. What you have, 1000 is the redemption value, 50 is your investment value. The difference what you have, 950 rupees, that is the benefit you are getting for holding bond for 20 years. And that is your zero coupon bond or deep discounts bond, bonds which are issued at deep discount from its face value, from its maturity value. This is how your deep discounts bond work, and for which formula is like this: IRR equals lower discounting factor plus NPV at LDF divided by NPV at LDF minus NPV at HDF. HDF is the higher discount factor into HDF minus LDF. Work out formulas on the problems on this given to you in the class, so that you will get the grip of solving problems. Please remember, you need to work out all problems, otherwise you won't be able to find out answer for the MCQ problems given to you in the exams. Learn formulas, learn concepts properly, only then you can solve your MCQs with a given span of time. Then you have preference share capital, calculating cost of that. What is preference share capital? It is also called as hybrid security. As you know, it has the feature of debt as well as feature of the equity. What is the feature of the debt it has? It carries fixed rate of return. What is the feature of share? It will receive the principal value. The holders will receive the principal value after repaying for the debenture or debt holders. So at the time of liquidation, first debt holders will be paid. Later your preference shareholders will receive their capital, that is principal repayment. That is the feature of share it has. Therefore it is called hybrid security. And the calculation of preference share capital cost is what we are learning now. Again, what is the cost of preference share capital? What do you pay for them basically? You are paying preference dividend. You can write here PD also if you feel that you get confused with equity. Otherwise, you can write D. No issues with that. Now, for raising funds from preference shareholders, you are paying preference dividend. So, the cost of preference shareholders is the preference dividend which the company is paying. Again, there are two types: perpetual preference shares redeemable at the time of liquidation, and you have redeemable which has fixed maturity period. So here your cost of preference share will be preference dividend divided by net proceeds, or if it is issued at principal value, we take principal value. If your redeemable preference shares are given, the formula is very similar to what you have learned in case of debt, except the tax adjustment. In case of debt, whatever interest you pay, that is interest is tax deductible item, so 1 minus T will come there. But in case of redeemable preference shares, that is not there, and the whole remaining formula remains same, as the logic is similar, which is preference dividend plus 1 by n into RV minus NP divided by half of RV plus NP. This is how cost of preference share is calculated. Now in the next video, I will go with the calculation of cost of equity.